Deep within the heart of an ancient forest lays a secret cabin, untouched by time, hidden from civilization, veiled by towering trees whose twisted branches claw at the sky. Moss carpets the ground, muffling footsteps, while a chilling mist weaves through gnarled roots and decaying leaves. The air hums with an unnatural stillness, heavy with whispered secrets and cloaked in tales of the supernatural. This isn't just a cabin. Legend has it that it is cursed and haunted, a place where those who enter rarely make it out the same or live to tell the story. Emily and Jason were zealous hikers, always looking for hidden trails and secret spots far away from the city. One weekend, as usual, they ventured into an unfamiliar foggy forest with tall trees swaying in the wind. Guided by an old map they found online. Forest. They got carried by the dense, serene, and peaceful environment that created a sense of mystery and intrigue. But by the time they realized they were lost, the sun had dipped below the horizon, and a raging storm began to roll in. At this point, they were desperate for shelter, and they spotted a small cabin through the trees. It was very old, with wooden walls warped by time, and the front door hung slightly ajar. They approach cautiously as Jason pushes the door wide open, revealing a dusty interior with cobwebs. He hesitated a bit. "We should keep moving," he said. But Emily, pointing at the clouds above, filled with immense power, lightning and natural fury, which creates a scene that is both terrifying and mesmerizing. They didn't have a choice but to stay the night in the cabin. The air inside was so heavy and almost suffocating. Every surface was covered with dust, and a faint smell of mildew lingered. There were no sign of life, just an old rocking chair, a faded rug, a fireplace filled with cold ash and strange carvings on the walls. Curiosity and unease battled within them as they rifled through the cabin's decaying remnants. Nervous chuckles masked their growing fear, but every creak heightened their tension. It was better than braving the storm outside, they thought. Little did they know this wasn't just a shelter from the storm, but the doorway to something more inauspicious. Just as they went round the cabin, Emily lights a candle they found on the old table, while Jason starts a fire in the hearth. He discovers an old leather-bound journal on a shelf. Flipping through pages, he finds sketches of the same symbols carved into the walls and notes about strange rituals. Its brittle pages crackling ominously. It says something about an entity trapped in here, a spirit bound to this place by those symbols. Suddenly, the cabin shakes as if hit by a powerful gust of wind. The door slams shut, and the fire in the hearth flickers menacingly. Emily unearthed rusted tools and a cracked mirror, shuddering at their eerie reflections. Trapped and terrified, Emily and Jason had no choice but to confront the darkness that lurked within the cabin, even as the storm continues to lurk heavily outside. Emily swore she heard footsteps coming from the attic, but Jason brushed it off, and then the sound came again. Louder this time around, steady and deliberate steps. They decided to investigate, but when they opened the attic door, it was empty. Just a barren space filled with cobwebs and shadows. Things on the wall looks like symbols and warnings, Emily said in a hushed tone. "Probably just some old graffiti. Don't let your imagination run wild," replied Jason. And then a sudden bang echoes through the cabin, making both of them jump. Jason investigates but finds nothing. For a moment they felt a bit relived and tried to settle in, looking around to see if they could find a space to rest for the night. A few minutes later, things started moving on their own. The rocking chair began to sway, even though there was no breeze. A photograph fell from the wall, shattering glasses across the floor. and the fireplace seemed to stir and shift as if something was trying to rise from it. The cabin seemed alive, as though the very walls were breathing, watching and waiting. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a whispered warning, urging them to escape before it was too late. The whispers grow louder, turning into guttural voices. Shadows materialize into figures that stalked the hikers. Emily screams as a ghostly hand grabs her shoulder. They tried to escape, but the door and windows won't budge. Then Jason remembers the journal and said there's a passage here about a ritual to banish the spirit. We need to break the symbols. They frantically scratch at the carvings on a wall with knives and rocks. The cabin reacts violently, shaking and growling. Panic consumed them as they pressed against the cold, splintered wall, their breathing ragged and their eyes wide with terror. They clawed desperately at the strange, cryptic carvings etched into the wall, convinced they held the key to breaking free from the spirit's relentless torment. Their hands shook uncontrollably with the knives and rocks they had snatched in haste. Jason struck the carvings with savage fury, their blows uneven, fueled by raw fear, while Emily scraped and chipped with frantic precision, whispering prayers or curses under their breath. Every strike seemed more erratic than the last, their movements growing wild as dread took hold, leaving no room for rational thought. Each scratch they made seemed to anger the spirit, but it was their last hope. As they were able to destroy the final symbol, the spirit manifest in full. A tall, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes and a distorted voice says, "You defy me." They froze for a moment, their breaths hitching as the shadowy figure loomed closer, its glowing red eyes piercing through the darkness. They staggered back. Jason clutched a lantern with trembling hands, while Emily stammered incoherent pleas. The distorted voice, filled with malice, paralyzed them, their instincts screaming, "Run!" But yet their legs refused to move. Emily and Jason scream as the cabin begins to collapse inward. Light engulfs them, and everywhere goes silent. The cabin is gone, replaced by an empty clearing. Emily and Jason wake on the forest floor the next morning, confused but alive. But something had changed. They never spoke about what happened. Those who knew them swore they were never the same. It is said that the cabin still appears to unsuspecting hikers till date, especially those who wander too far off the trail. So, if you ever find yourself deep in the woods and spot a lonely cabin, think twice before stepping inside. Would you dare go inside a lonely cabin in the woods? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.